Hello, everyone, and thank you for watching this recording. My name is Jennifer Marks. I'm the sole librarian at the Copper Hill Public Library. The main job of a librarian is to make information available to the public. With the internet, there is an overload of information, and much of it can be false or misleading. So now, as a librarian, my job isn't only to make this information accessible, this also help make the information consumer, that be you, discerning and confident in his, her, or their ability to sift through the illusion of online information. So basically, it's also to train people how to evaluate what you find online to see if it's trustworthy. So today I want to do a quick overview of how to critically evaluate the credibility of articles and information you may find online. But much of the information I'll be presenting today is actually from a Google Applied Digital Skills lesson. And I encourage all to view that original lesson if you want a deeper dive. I'll provide a link to that lesson in the description area, as well as a link to some other information as well. Now, this recording is not meant to be all-encompassing or answer every question you may have, but serve as a way to kind of dip your toe into the mini lesson that Google offers online for free to small business owners, entrepreneurs, job seekers, students, and educators to grow their digital skills. My hope is that after this recording, you'll encourage you to look at those lessons and pick and choose to complete the ones that best suits your needs. But before we get too much into today's lesson, I do want to mention some of those other programs you can go through. So Primer, that's actually an app that you download on your smartphone. It provides 5-minute business and marketing lessons. Since it's on your smartphone, you can learn whenever and wherever you're able to. Small Solves is a series of quick help videos that answer questions to help you make the most of your digital tools. It could be something from simple starting a live stream to updating your business profile. Apply Digital Skills, where you can learn practical digital skills using a free project-based video curriculum. That's where I adapted this lesson from. Skillshop, you can master Google tools you might use at work with free online training. These are e-learning courses designed by Google product experts. You can learn at your own pace and actually get Google product certified as well. And then Grow with Google actually provides free training, tools, and resources to help grow your skills, your career, or your business. And I will provide links to all of those in the description. But let's today start with how to evaluate, information online. So credible content is content that is believable and trustworthy. So just so you know, the internet is an amazing resource for knowledge, information about human history and culture, art and science, the latest business news, anything else you can imagine is just a click away. But it's also easy for anyone to create content on the internet, from blogs to magazines to news, videos, and more. And not all the information you find on the internet is true and unbiased. You don't always know who created the content or why they created the content, and then you don't know if it's credible. So each time you use the internet, it's important to evaluate the sources for credibility so you won't be misled by false information. You might find something on a website that's not credible, even if it pretends to be. It's also important to think about the credibility of a source before you share it with anyone else, so you don't spread false or misleading information accidentally. Sometimes it's obvious that a website is trying to get you to do something, and maybe want you to click on a link or buy a product. That's what they often will say it's sponsored content. That's what that means. Or maybe it wants to share your personal information, but most of the time it's not so easy to determine if a source is credible or not. Sometimes online content can seem credible, it has an impressive layout, or may look professional, but it's maybe written by someone who doesn't know much about the topic, or the author could be biased. And bias is an unfair preference for some ideas or opinions over others. So you got to be careful when deeming something as biased, because just because something goes against your opinion does not mean it is biased. Each of us have our own biases that may color our perspective and judgment. So overall, though, you should approach new information as suspicious until you can evaluate its credibility. This is just, this is especially true for pieces of information that maybe seem too true or too perfect for your worldview. If it seems too good to be true, it's a good likely that it may be too good to be true. So if something seems to fit perfectly with your worldview, that's when you should even be more suspicious of it. Because false or misleading information often preys upon our prejudices, and so we really want to believe it, and so often we will without examining the source. So just don't let your desire to believe in something overwhelm your ability to be rational and logical about evaluating it. So how do you go about evaluating it? Really, you want to focus on 5 key W questions. That's who wrote the article, what is the author's point of view, when was the article written, where does the author get their information, and why did the author write this? So let's go over each of these questions a little bit more detail. So first 2 is who wrote this article and what is the author's point of view. So you start by evaluating the author's trustworthiness and point of view helps you determine the overall credibility. And just so you know, an author's point of view is their attitude toward what they are writing about. So to begin with, you ask who wrote the article, and then you ask if the author is a trustworthy source of information. So to do this, one, you have to find the author's name on the content you're finding. To do this, then once you find the author's name, you'll perform an internet search about that author. You want to try to find out more about who they are, what other articles maybe they've written, or where they work if they work for a publication. If that author does not show up in an internet search, it could be a warning sign the author is made up and not credible, because it could be a false name, it may not actually be a real author. Now, if the author's personal or professional history indicates some type of bias, it may affect the credibility of an article. So if everything they've written is about this one subject, and they would seem to have the same point of view, just doesn't mean they're wrong. Just take that into consideration. Now, if you can't find the author of the article, you can look at the website it appears on, or you can evaluate the organization that published it. And I don't mean like Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, because they're not a publishing organization. They're just platforms that allow anyone to publish, anyone to post on them. So they do not evaluate credibility before publishing. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if it's on a newspaper or magazine website, if it's on that's where you found it. If you found it on some person's individual blog, you might be a little bit more suspicious about that. Now, mention the author's point of view. So when you read it, pay attention not only to the author's point of view, but how that is presented. Does the author present accurate facts in an unbiased way, or does the author seem to be taking sides on the topic? If the author does not bring up much of a counterpoint, think why that might be. If their author is strongly biased for or against an issue, if they're strongly for or against one issue, their bias could be affect the credibility of the article. So the next 3 questions: when was the article written? Where does the author get their information? And why did the author write this? So we want to start by finding when the author article was actually written. The publication date may be included in the article itself, or may appear somewhere else on the website. You want the article if it's recent, because if it's not, you want to see if that content is still relevant or is outdated. Especially in certain subjects like science and technology, things are changing rapidly all the time. So something that's even a couple years old may be outdated. Not that it was false at the time it was written, it just may be outdated now in those subjects. And that's truthfully, that's even things with like history. We're always learning out new facts about history, and it's changing how we perceive things. So that could be true with history. Just usually science and technology are a lot quicker than things like history and literature. Those tend to move a little slower. So a couple years, it may still be relevant for maybe history, whereas science and technology, it may just be outdated. Now you look at where the author got the information. You look at, does the article include citations, such as footnotes, a bibliography at the back that mention the sources of information. Does it have links to its sources or data collected by a topic? If it spits out a fact like 60% of people do this, well, where did it get that number? Does it have a footnote or mention where it got that information so you can verify it as well? And can you find similar claims in other sources? So if it doesn't have any of that citation information, it is a little suspect, but just do you see that those type of claims, in other similar articles presented there as well. So you may need to search the internet to verify the claims in the article. If other credible sources make similar claims, or you can find data that supports the article, it may be trustworthy. If you cannot verify the information in the article on other websites or in other sources, the article may not be credible. And you may likely going to find sources that both support and oppose the information presented. So you may need to compare the numbers on each side and the credibility of those who agree or disagree. Because likely for every positive thing you find, you're also going to find a negative thing. Because like I said, anyone can post or publish on the internet. So you may find both ways. So it's just going to matter maybe of numbers. If it's overwhelmingly saying one thing and there's very minimal saying the other thing, or who's saying which one may help. It may be a judgment call. A lot of this is going to be judgment in who you decide who you're going to trust. And then why did the author write this? So is the author writing to inform you about an important issue? Is the article for entertainment, not really intended to educate? Is it like a tabloid article about a celebrity might just share rumors rather than actual facts? Is the author trying to persuade you into perform a specific action? Like, do they want you to click a link or submit personal information or make a purchase? If it says sponsored content, that is code for this was paid for by an advertiser. Now, it doesn't mean 100%, doesn't mean the information is not have some correct information in there, but just so you know, that's why the author is writing this, is likely to get that sponsored money. So it does, you need to be a little bit more suspicious when reading it. And overall, you should be mindful of what you're reading. Don't just automatically do everything that's sent to you, everything you stumble across. Always check for the credibility. Some things you read or see on the internet may be obviously true or false, but most information is going to fall somewhere in between. So you got to make sure you evaluate the credibility of everything you read or see online, and always pause to check its credibility before you share the content with others. If there is something false out there, if you check the credibility before forwarding it, that helps other people from seeing that false information. We're all in this together to stop the misinformation, pandemic going on. So the ability to identify the difference between credible and non-credible sources helps you filter the information you find online, helps you make smart decisions based on your findings, and you can develop informed opinions about important topics. And opinions are developed on evaluating information. It's not just a belief. Opinions, you can develop opinions based on information you've researched and read and discovered. And it's perfectly acceptable not to have an opinion on something if you haven't read up on the topic yet. So you may not have an opinion until you actually read up on stuff. And to actually have an opinion, you need to research and find credible sources to decide how you feel in one way. So when you read you read information closely and think critically about it, you become a better student and a citizen who's able to evaluate current events and historical issues thoughtfully. When you see credible sources, you enhance your own credibility by using those to help your mind. So be mindful of what you read and see on the internet, whether it's a written article, a video, or any other type of content. Remember to always check for credibility. So you want to learn some more, like I mentioned at the top of this video, I'll provide a link in the description to this other resources. There is a longer lesson on this very topic in applied digital skills. I encourage you to look through that if it's found this entertaining. There's also lessons that help grow some other digital skills as well as your business if you're business minded. And once again, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to watch this recording. If you need any help from me, my name again is Jennifer Marks. I'm the librarian at the Copper Hill Public Library. Our email is copperhilllibrary@gmail.com. Phone number is 214-330-9935, or you can reach us on our social media via Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Reach out to me that way. Thank you.